Protect the flock, we rally in the lion's den. Shield to shield, the storm is thundering. Unleash the roar, let the lions run. Torch the night until the battle's won.
Okay, so here we are in the Lions Den. I told you I'd have a really special guest. I got my Beantown brother, the one, the only, Mr. Richie Galvin. Hey, Richie, how's it going, brother?
It's going well, Paulie. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, this is, I want to go back and tell people a little bit. I mean, I've known you for a long time. We're both outdoorsmen, so we always talk shop. But, you had a root inspection training a couple of years ago that I sat in on in Boston. And I'll tell you, you said something that really sat me back in my chair because usually people will say, well, we're going to show you how to protect your root and how to save minutes and how to do this. And the first words out of your mouth is, I'm going to show you guys how to go to war. And I got chills on my arm. I'm like, holy shit, man, this is gonna be a good training.
It is. It's all about demonstrating time.
Yeah.
Every letter carrier takes for granted how hard they're actually working. So it's time that we teach letter carriers how to show management what we actually do.
Yep, yep, yep. And so this is funny because um what I wanted to focus on today, we do a lot of training for letter carriers, but I think we leave our stewards high and dry because I haven't seen any trainings on stewards actually filing the grievances in the aftermath.
Yeah.
And I think that's where we're really failing our stewards. It's going to be above the heads of a lot of, rank and file carriers when we start talking about grievances, but it's good to learn the process for anybody, I think, you know?
It would behoove the powers to be to put, two separate trainings together. We should be looking at this as, a training for a letter carrier, how to conduct himself under route inspections. And then we should be doing a specific training just for our stewards on how to handle the grievance procedure after the.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, before we jump in, why don't you give our folks a little bit of background because I know you've had just a dabbling in route inspections in the past here. So
I
what
have.
yeah.
I have. Well, after 39 years of being a letter carrier, I'd say probably 20 years of my career has been focused on route inspection. And it's kind of funny how I got into it. It began a long time ago with Johnny Cash, who put me into some of the early raps, the I raps and my raps and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You name it, I've done every single rap, formals. I've done trucks. I've done it all. But yeah, I would have to say out of the last 20 years, if it had anything to do with route inspection, I was involved in it. And I'll always remember what a previous steward said to me that made me follow this path. He said to me, get out of route inspection. It's career suicide. And that's always been an Achilles heel for me because let's face it, contractually, we do a great job. Okay. Discipline wise, we do a great job. But for the everyday letter carrier that comes in, who does their route every day, who's in full uniform, who cares nothing more about their route, we're not investing in those carriers. So I always took it personal from that point on that I was going to make a career out of route inspections.
Yeah, yeah. And you know what? If you think about it, we probably lose more jobs, I'm sure we do, on route inspections than we do on any kind of discipline out there. So
It's
this is something we should be putting, full force and now that you mentioned the actual training aspect of it, the CLC is going to be doing a full Zoom training on grieving route inspections. So this is kind of just a taste of it.
good.
So I guess let me start talking about my view of inspection grievances because I think there's two ways to look at it. Some people will grieve every single violation. Like let's say they take away one of your 10-minute breaks, right? And it's clear as day that they didn't give you your 10-minute break. So that's an easy grievance. But if you do that for a whole route inspection, the impact is kind of small. So your remedy is going to be the arbitrator might tell you, well, you know what, okay, there was a violation, but big deal. The way I like to approach it is I like doing an omnibus grievance. I like taking all the violations together, pulling all the pieces together and showing the arbitrator that these guys had intent. They came in to screw with us And once you get to that point where you can show that there's intentional behavior on the part of management, I think that's where you get the good remedies. So it makes it a much bigger grievance. We just did one that was almost 3,000 pages. But I
Yeah.
think when an arbitrator sees that and you start checking the list off and showing what happened, they're like, holy shit, there's something went wrong here. Something went wrong here.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%, Paul. And there is, a provision in the M39 which states fair appraisal of time.
Yeah.
And, management is supposed to evaluate our routes fairly. The only thing I would caution on is timelines. When you think about, route and unit reviews, all the way to evaluated times, you're talking a long time period goes by.
Yeah.
And there could be a plethora of infractions in that time period. So if you don't have, conversations, during your ground rules, how you're going to handle things, who's going to be handling stuff and timelines, you could get yourself jammed up. So you have to be
Oh, yeah.
cautious of that.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, think about it. There's a 60-day review period. So if you wait to find out if the routes come out to actually 8 hours at 60 days, you've lost all those violations that happened 60 days ago. So,
Right.
yeah, in my opinion, you have to file two grievances and try to marry them at the end when it goes to arbitration. The one once the routes are once the final once the final evaluation is done, that's their last chance to give you those deductions that you fought for.
Right.
And then after the 60 days, you can actually show that these aren't 8-hour routes anymore. So.
In that 60-day grievance isn't a very complicated grievance. A lot of the other grievances up to that, prior to that, you know, let's face it, they're complicated. A core grievance, it's complicated. But a review grievance is kind of a black and white grievance. Either the routes are 8 hours or they're not. It's an
Yeah.
easier case to prove.
Yep. Yep. So what I wanted to talk about today was like the preparation work for an actual grievance, specifically the ground rules. So, you touched on that a little bit. I think there's a couple of reasons we do ground rules. One of them, I think that once management knows that we're actually aware of the rules, it puts them on notice. I don't think they're going to come in and try as much. And let's face it, the best grievance that we file is the one we don't have to file. If
Correct.
management follows the rules, we're all better off. And the second reason I think is there's some specific things in some offices, like there might be some reasonable accommodations. Some carriers are casing DPS, or maybe we have different ways or different staging or different SOPs, or things like that we want to set out early and straighten out. So my plan is, Richie, and I sent you this afternoon. A couple of years ago, I came out with a list of ground rules, and I used them in one of our inspections. And since then, management has bastardized my ground rules. They've corrupted it. So what they did is they've twisted some things around so that the language actually hurts us. But I think it
Okay.
would be great for our listeners, our stewards out there, to hear how words can make a difference. So we've got a
Absolutely.
bunch of ground rules here. I'm taking the ones that management gave us, and I'm going to actually go off of those, and we'll go through those, and we'll show which ground rules that they kind of corrupted and the ones that actually stand. Some of these are just basic, like we'll follow the M39. So some of them there's going to be no argument at all, but
Yep.
some of them I'll tell you they really flipped end over end.
Paulie, before you get started, let's just caution all our stewards right now on how they should be handling these ground rules before we even get into the specific items. I
Good
think a
idea.
lot of stewards don't take the ground rules as a serious in a formal setting. We should be looking at this process much like an LMOU. Okay, specific notes, clear language, everything memorialized. And before you're all said and done, you're leaving that meeting with signatures on paper. It's time
Yeah.
to treat it binding. We no
Yeah.
longer do business with a handshake anymore. This company has changed. People have changed. So let's get everybody to a more formal setting, and get that pen on paper.
Yeah. And that you bring up a good point. You might have some ground rules that they just won't agree to, management won't agree to. It's okay to initial some and sign off that you agree on some and not on others. So the important thing is to get them on paper. So like I said,
Julio.
management is aware that you're aware of the rules, and They'll probably get away with a little bit less, hopefully. So I'm going to start reading through these, Richie. I think there's probably, what is it? I think there's about 40 of them, and they're going to go pretty quick. So, all right, I might probably get some cotton mouth doing this, but we'll go. Rule number one, the parties agree to follow the M41, M39, JCAM, applicable handbooks and manuals, and any pertinent MOUs and grievance settlements to resolve any disputes. That sounds great, right?
Clean to me? Yeah.
Yep. I checked that one right off. Yep. Number two, any information requests from the NALC during the route inspection process will be handled by the inspection team. I already have a problem here.
Yep. I know where you're going.
Yeah, the inspection team is a great black void. You send
Yep.
something out there and they'll say, well, I gave it to Johnny who gave it to Sue. They didn't get that back to you yet? Oh, next week you'll get that for sure. No, you
Yep.
put a name to paper. The
If you
inspect
notice nowadays, Paulie, you're gonna see you're gonna have more than one or two team leaders. You know, in the old days, you had one team leader. You dealt specifically with that person. So you're absolutely right. Get a name to it. Who's going to be handling it?
Yeah.
And talk about. There's a good time to be talking about timelines. Do you guys have a meeting at the end? Do you move grievances at certain stages? But get a name and get a time.
Yeah, absolutely. Get some responsibility, right? All right, number three, carriers will utilize their normal vehicle during 39.99s in day of inspection unless it is unavailable. Jump seats will be placed in the carrier's vehicle during 39.99s in day of inspection for street inspections if management chooses to do so. If a carrier's vehicle is not available, a vehicle of the same type shall be assigned during the inspection if available within the installation. I like that one. They didn't mess with that too much, but I like the fact that a carrier can use their own vehicle. So if someone's got a van or a Metris or something like that and they can't put a jump seat in them, screw them. They can drive
Yeah.
behind you.
You know, it's we look at it as common sense, but you know how management twists everything around. They're going to want to put you in anything under the sun rather than you driving your own vehicle.
Right. Yeah. But this is a good one. I'm happy they kind of kept that one. All
Yep.
right. Number four. And before I go any further, that CLC Zoom training that we're going to be doing in a couple of weeks, we're going to have these on paper. So I know somebody's going to be recording this and trying to write these down as we go. And it's a good thing, but
Yep.
we will have this in writing for you in a couple of weeks too. All right.
Make
Number
everything
four.
available.
Yeah, yeah. Number four, examiners are not allowed to instruct carriers. They are only allowed to ask for clarification. If a carrier's performance on the street needs to be addressed, then they could be put on management time and a local supervisor needs to be notified. So that's pretty much black and white. I mean, we know that you're not supposed to be instructed on the street by a route examiner. Some people mix that up and think that that's any time that a carrier is being supervised on the street for an inspection. It's only during the formal inspection process.
Listen, for everybody listen and be prepared to deal with this. You have a lot of young examiners out there that overstep their bounds constantly. They will give you instructions. What I always tell my letter carriers is, you know, passive aggressively tell them, listen, you're here to take notes. I'm going to do my job the way I do it every single day, but feel free to take whatever notes you want. But that, for all our listeners, that is going to be infringed upon. I will tell you that right now.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard to be aggressive on the street, especially, they take advantage of some carriers. I remember one time I had an examiner that held a gate door open for me as I was going into an apartment. So the next time we got to an apartment, I held the gate door open for him. He says, what the hell are you doing? I'm trying to be polite like you're polite, boss.
What we saw in this last group of inspections that we had, was borderline zero tolerance. Probably they brought in people from all over the area, telling you where you could go to the bathroom, you can't go to the bathroom, just a plethora of infractions on top of that. So, as stewards, you guys should all be aware, get ready for this. It's going to happen.
Yep. Yep. All right. Number five, the same random lot draw numbers will be used for all routes inspected during the inspections. That's boilerplate language. Number
Right.
six, carriers will count the mail on all days except the day of inspection. Examiners have the right to verify the carrier's count after the carrier has counted the mail. Examiners will count mail on the day of inspection. Carriers have the right to verify the examiner's count. Again, that's pretty standard.
Straightforward.
Yep. Number seven, let's get into some good stuff here. This is common. Number seven, day of inspection will be established by the schedule. Week of inspection schedule will be posted in accordance with the M39. If any changes to the day of inspection are made, a new schedule will be posted the day prior. Carriers will be notified to the best extent possible. Do you trust management to do something to the best extent possible, Richie?
Absolutely not. Absolutely
Yeah.
not.
That's what we call in the Northeast. We call that bullshit. There,
Yeah,
you
I
don't
mean,
you don't leave that language in there. If someone tries to present you with a ground rule that says we're going to try our best, you say, well, that's not going to work for us.
Paul, even to go a little bit further, notified in writing. Well, you left at 4 o'clock that day, and at 5 o'clock they posted it on the time clock or near the scanners. That's something that we might want to address and clean that up a little bit.
Yeah, yeah, we got to have a uniform way of announcing it. You're right. All right, number 8. All mail distributed to the carrier will be delivered every day with the understanding that only 6 days of mail will be counted for the week of inspection to the best extent possible. All mail distributed to carrier's cases will be delivered every day to the best extent possible. Delayed mail outside of these 6 days will not be counted. Delayed curtailed volume will not be included in the count inspection, blah, 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 blah. Again, all mail will be distributed and be delivered every day to the extent possible does not fly.
No,
This is their excuse to say, well, we had a couple of sick calls, so we couldn't give you all that volume on your last day. Bullshit.
clean in, clean out.
Absolutely. Yep. And every piece gets delivered every day.
I
All right.
believe the language in the M39 on a daily basis says the all mail to the all up time. Now you're
I've
going to
got
run
that
into.
written down right here. Yeah,
Yep,
I should have read that. M39 221.136. All mail distributed to the carrier up to the normal established cutoff time will
yep,
be delivered
yes.
every day. Will be, not will
Yes.
try to be, will
Yeah,
be.
will be. So let's talk about that normal cutoff time. Every station has a different all up time. That needs to be specifically talked about when you guys have your meetings. So identify the time because management's going to tell you, oh, we don't have any clerks today, and that time's going to fluctuate. So,
Yeah.
116, let's pay attention to that.
Yeah. All right, we're looking at number 9 here. Carriers will receive a verified yellow copy of the 1838C daily at their cases. I'm going to add to that one will also be provided to the union no later than the following morning because these inspections can get away from a steward. If you
Yep.
have a fairly decent sized office and you get this like 3 buckets of paperwork on that last day, you're in trouble.
Yep.
So every day, I mean, we're going to go through this some more, but every day you should be trying to address problems. They should be giving you the paperwork. You should be looking for the bad deductions in time. Keep up
Well,
with it.
when we're on that yellow copy, Paul, you know what that perturbs me a little bit sometimes, and it falls back on the carrier when he's not pushing down on that paperwork. When we get that yellow paper back, the carbon copy, a lot of it's not legible. You,
Yeah,
it's almost to the point where we need a photocopy of the actual cover because great, you gave me that yellow piece of paper back, but I can't read any of it. There's nothing
yeah.
on it. So
That's
that's
right.
something we
So
need to
so
think.
that's a little bit later on. One of the other ground rules that I'm going to mention is the union should be requesting that the cover sheet copy, the hard copy that's got the red ink on it as well,
Yes,
because that's something that we need because the red ink should differentiate who's making changes and what the carrier's done.
duly noted.
Yep. Number 10. Full coverage circulars counts will be taken from the residential stop counts in the carrier's AMS edit books. That's fair enough. Number 11, DPS end of run reports will be given to carriers to enter on line 7A as soon as possible in the AM. Carriers have the option of verifying the end of run count. A word to the wise. If you count your DPS and you come back in 8 hours and say, I really showed them, the time that you spent counting that DPS is not part of your route. So just remember when you see those line 22s and 23s on that 1838C at the end of the day, that's all coming off of your route.
Yeah, and that's hard to keep track of as a carrier. When you have so many things going on in your head to keep track of your 22 and 23 time and then
It
trying to,
is.
yeah. And let me just throw a little bit of concern out there for letter carriers. Um, when you count that DPS, and I've counted it, 110 million times, That number isn't off by more than one or two pieces of mail on any given day. That machine is pretty damn accurate counting the mail. So
Yeah.
unless you really just want to give it to management, you're not doing yourself a favor by counting two trays of DPS.
Yeah, I would really make them pay like outside of the inspection process. If they're doing like a random 1 day count on you, say, all right, I'm
Yeah.
going to verify all my mail just to make them have to cover some aux time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Um, Number 12, time to band out circulars for central delivery and parking loops will be handled as follows and at the carrier's option. I'm going to read this the way that management wrote down my ground rule. Time will be given on the street to efficiently band out circulars for parking loop and central delivery points. If circulars are taken to the street in this manner, the carrier will receive credit for parcels for each bundle. That's exactly what I wrote, Rich. That's
Yep.
exactly word for word. Now, the second bullet point. Time will be given on line 15 if done in the office. No parcel credit will be given. So that is actually wrong. If you have a third bundle and you handle it in the office, not that I'm recommending this because you do get better time on the street for it, but if you decide to count it in the office, you actually have line 21 time to count these circulars out and put them at the back of your bundles. There's an M number for that, a document. It's M01288. So that document, that memorandum states that it's a line 21 item if you're going to count unaddressed bundled pieces behind each relay. So if you have like 30 deliveries, you can count 30 pieces, take that line 21. Again, I don't recommend that, Richie. I like people bringing this to the street, getting the parcel credit, and taking the same amount of time on the street anyways, you know?
So let's talk about your parcel credit there, because I'm going to play yin and yang with you for a second.
Okay.
All right. So, you're going to say that you're going to take 5 more bundles of this out to the street,
Yep, 5 parcels.
and we're going to give you 5 parcels. What are you giving me for that, Paul? You're giving me nothing. Okay. But what we're adversely doing is we're going to increase the letter carrier's parcel count moving forward. So your projections are going to be actually higher moving forward.
That's a
I
good
don't want
point.
it. I don't want it to say I took an extra 5 bundles of extra 5 parcels.
That's
Don't
a
give
good
me
point.
that count. I don't want that, Paul.
That's a good point, because if you have a base parcel count and
I
it's
don't want.
including 5 bundles of circulars, that doesn't take any time to deliver to the door. You're not waiting for a
Yep.
customer to answer their door.
Don't give me that. I don't want that, Paul.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. All right, number let's see, 13. Letter size will be determined as a 6-inch MSP card. Thickness of a letter will not exceed 24 pages with an index. That's pretty much standard too.
Yep.
Number 14, carriers should swipe off route in 1838C upon completion of their route. That's common sense.
Yep.
All right, here's one of my favorites, Richie. Get ready.
Oh,
Put your
yep.
seatbelt on. Business delivery. I mean, this is the way management wrote this, okay? This is not the way I wrote this. Business delivery abbreviated routes will be bracketed on abbreviated days and the following delivery day.
Ooh.
Abbreviated delivery will be defined as 1 hour or more of scheduled non-delivery due to business closure on the following routes. So I see 2 problems here. For one thing, the M39 does not say that you exclude Monday time. It's M39. Let's see. Uh, do, 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 do. You will count 6 days, and if there's a Saturday abbreviated route, you will count 5 consecutive days. So you will count Monday through Friday. You will not exclude Monday. So this is a little something they added, and they're going to give you this song and dance. They're going to say, "Oh, come on, brother.
Yep.
Saturday we're taking away the time. You can't add that time to Monday. That's not fair." I don't care. That's what the contract says.
You know where they steal that from, Paul? They
Where?
steal that from the truck inspections.
Really?
So yeah. So management always tries to get you Monday out, saying it's following a non-delivery day. But get ready to argue this. We deliver mail on Sundays now. So how is it a non-delivery day if we're delivering on Sunday? Monday's no longer a non-delivery day.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. That's true. And I don't like the 1 hour part either, Rich, because all it says is that you will go to that 5 days if there is abbreviated Saturday delivery. It doesn't say 1 hour of
It doesn't.
abbreviated Saturday delivery. So what
No.
I tell carriers to do is go back historically on the route, get some work hour workloads, and look at the Saturdays. And if you
Yeah.
can show that I mean, I say a half hour, but even 20 minutes. If you can
Yeah,
show a consistent 20-minute less time on a Saturday and you have a little bit of evidence there, I'd say that's abbreviated. And if
yeah,
they don't think so and they say, well, you can't exclude that, well, then say, well, if it doesn't make a difference, why can't I?
yeah.
If it's not a difference, then why are you preventing me from doing it?
When you divide it by the 5 days, it's going to equate to about 5 minutes, 6 minutes. It's going to
Yeah.
have an impact.
Now, here's another catch to this part too, brother. Um, the 1840B, which our stewards out there will know, is the 8 week analysis. That's not the
Correct.
week of inspection. We don't have anything in our contract right now pulling the Saturday out of that. So right now, if you take the week of inspection and you have this rule that's in the M39 that you don't count Saturday, you're going to have a fairly higher time. But when you look at the 8 week analysis, they're putting those Saturdays in there.
Hmm.
So we have to fight to get those pulled out. There is a provision where you can pull out days that are not representative,
Yes.
but a steward's going to have to be on top of that and say these are abbreviated Saturday routes. So I also want those Saturdays pulled out of the 8 week analysis.
That's how we've always handled it in Boston, and to a lot of success. Management hasn't really come at that with us. I will tell you, just in this last round of inspections, all the 1840B times were wrong. And when you talk about the B times, let's hypothetically say out of the 7 days that they're using, they only use 5 days. Well, they're
Yeah.
still dividing by the seven. So you really got to watch the math. Though I've experienced this last round of inspections, the worst developed B times. There was errors everywhere.
Oh yeah. I'm working on that LOU. I mean I'm working on the inspection Zoom training right now, and we're seeing things like they're pulling days out of consideration just for no
Yeah,
reason, not
yeah,
representative because it's
yeah,
the highest day of the week. Well,
yeah. And they'll count 3 days that week, but when they do the math, they'll still divide it by
yeah,
the larger number. You know what I mean?
yeah. All right, here's another good one. Wash up time. Wash up time will be in accordance with the local agreement. Credit for additional reasonable wash up time will be given on line 21. What happens when you give a manager the right to decide what's reasonable and what's not reasonable?
Yeah, it's funny because Tom Rooney and I just dealt with that in our LMOUs, and we're looking for specific language during the Tyree process. I had the luxury of reading a lot of locals out there, and there are some guys out there and gals out there that's got some really strong wash up time language. It behooves you to, when you write those LMOUs, we want it allocated into a line 21, get specific language out there.
Yeah. So I actually refined this after there's a little side story here. There's a little game that they're playing called jackpotting. I
Yep.
mentioned this to you the other day. I didn't really get much into it, but the inspection teams are doing something called jackpotting. That means that they're trying to take groups of time and put it where we don't get credit. So, for instance, wash up time, they'll put it in your personal needs time. If you only took in the morning, you took 3 or 4 minutes and went to your locker, they're going to take that wash up time away from you and say, well, that's part of your personal needs time. So, you
Yeah.
got to specifically, like you said, the words are everything. This is the way I would word that. Okay. Wash up time will be in accordance with the local agreement. Credit for wash up time will be on line 21. This is in addition to and separate from the carrier's 5 minutes personal need time in the office. This
Excellent.
way, there's no question. You're talking about a separate animal. We're not
Yep.
talking about going to your locker. You're not talking about washing your hands in the toilet because you don't have any wash up time. It's
Correct.
actually a separate function.
Yeah.
And here, another thing too, if they ever come after you and say that carriers don't do dirty work, which we've seen that argument before, pull up the list. If you go on the NALC safety page, you can pull up the list of all the carriers that succumbed to COVID.
Yep.
And it's like 50 or 60 carriers. You pull up
Yeah.
the list of the carriers that died from anthrax poisoning from the
Well,
attacks. You know,
it's like we forgot about anthrax. That doesn't matter to anybody anymore.
right. You pull that up and you say we really don't deal with dirty or hazardous material. I'm not going home with that.
Yeah, I strongly disagree.
Yep. All right. So let's see. We're on number
17.
17. Carriers are allowed time to riffle DPS for accuracy. Riffling for DPS should be looking for sweeping errors consisting of checking beginning, middle, and end of DPS trays. Well, I've seen a lot of errors that are in less than a third a tray of DPS. So you're supposed to just like handful by handful go through the tray. You're not supposed to look at three different spots. And you and I were just talking before we actually went live on this. Is it office time or is it street time? Right?
So the language in the training manual and we talk about words all the time. The language is before. So if you're telling me do it before street time, then that makes it an office function.
Yeah, and that's in the
Now,
Carrier Academy training manual.
yeah,
Yeah,
so the word is there. Now that might be something we look at individually, depending on the layout of the building, where it's stored, and things like that.
right.
If you're getting it on a load time and you're out there and you can extend that time a little bit, that may be something that we case by case look at,
Yeah.
depending on the building layout.
Right. And if you do want to fight for it on line 21 too, go into some past history. If you've been doing this for a couple of years, if management says, I want you to go through that in the office so any errors are handed out to carriers before they're on the street, those kind of things, that'll be a good argument if you say it's a past practice and you're going to change it back the minute this team leaves. So,
Yeah,
nice try.
yeah.
All right. Number 18, local management will give safety service talks as normal during the week of inspection. Safety and service talks will be recorded on line 21. Again, this is management's version of my ground rule. Service talks pertaining to inspections or service talks that are not recurring daily will be recorded on line 22. So I guess if you get a service talk about a dog bite, since you don't give that talk every day, we're gonna take that time away from the carrier, right?
Yeah,
That is
you
the
know,
biggest bunch of bull right there,
I
you know.
agree, my friend.
So
Listen,
that line is gone.
if
Um,
management's talking to you, it's business related. 90% of
exactly.
the yeah, 90% of the time they're talking to you. It's about a package, anyways. It's almost like the 3996 story. So that it's kind of that ambiguous language
We
too.
even we even fought and we won for we had a 9/11 commemorative talk on the workroom floor during our inspection. And we get talks like that all the time. If we have somebody who's passed away,
Yep.
even a carrier talks about the food drive health insurance it's not all business related to carriers. We
Right.
get service talks all the time that are not related to specific carrying of mail.
Listen, now they're making us watch videos, and I shouldn't say they're making us watch these videos. I mean, it's good information, but if you're making us do it and it's part of our job, then give us credit for it.
Yeah. And that's another thing too. During the week of inspection, Richie, you just made me think of something. If you pull up your scanner and log on and it says, would you like to watch a training video? You better
Absolutely.
damn well want to watch that training
Uh,
video.
you know,
And you go on
you
line
know,
21.
I allude to some members when they're on that 354 time. If you're mandated. Those are training manuals from headquarters. You're supposed to watch them. So
Yeah,
you find
absolutely.
yourself on some downtime. It might not be a bad time to jump on a line 21 and watch a video.
Yeah. And I'm going to add one more thing to of course, I'm going to take out that whole line 22 for not recurring daily talks, but I also wanted to add we should put up that makeup service talks will be given the following day because they forget that. If a carrier is
Yeah,
absent and there's one service talk a week, they don't
yeah,
get credit for that. That
yeah.
carrier should get that service or safety talk just like everybody else. They
I
should
like
get credit
that.
for
I
that.
like that, Paul. That's a good one.
Yeah. Number 19, carriers will withdraw mail, not examiners. Carriers will make first pull and final hot case pull on the way to the street. Carriers should make no more than 2 withdrawals unless local management deems extra pulls necessary. That's a locally agreed upon thing, but that's probably close to boilerplate language. You make a
Yep.
couple of hot case pulls and you make one going out to the street.
Yep.
Number 20, circulars will be placed on the carrier's case. Retrieving parcels and mail withdrawal will be done on line 15. I got a problem with this because when you get that parcel hamper, you're not just getting the mail that's in that parcel hamper, you're getting a conveyance to load your vehicle. So I've always argued that that should be line 21, and I've never had that actually disputed. Have you had any luck with that or any arguments with that?
Let me go a little bit further on that. So in stations now, we're eliminating clerk positions. They're getting rid of the spurs, the small parcels cages, and they're dumping all your spurs into the parcels. We've been fighting and we've been successful, and we've been getting line 21 to segregate or retrieve your spurs from your parcels and bringing them back to the case. And we're actually getting line 21 time for that.
Yep, I like that. I think we should fight for that. I mean, they're going to try to get us online. This is another of that jackpotting, because they
Yep.
know we only have so much office time under line 15. So they're going to
Yep.
try to throw everything there and take away our line 21 that we can actually build our route up with.
Right.
We are on, let's see, number 21. Ledge loading of flats or SPRs will be a line 15 item. This also includes cutting, discarding straps, plastic wraps, etc. Carriers will not get withdrawal credit if they work directly from a bucket. That's pretty much standard. You
Yep.
don't want to work out of your bucket. You want to take all your flats, put them on your ledge, cut all your straps on line 15, take all that time. This is
While you're on the buckets, Paul, and as carriers, if you have spurs that do not fit into the rack, those odd shaped ones, please don't throw them back into the bucket, into the tub. Make sure you use a tray. You line them up sequentially, because when you get out on the street, they will be deducting all that time saying you're double handling the mail. So get
right.
on your line 21s, go get yourself a tray and line those spurs up sequentially in the office.
Yeah, and if they don't fit in the case, you have the right to turn a letter, or if your office permits you to put a marker in there to mark that spur that's oversized or uncaseable. So,
Just for your spurs, though, not for your parcels.
correct, correct. The larger parcels, 2 pounds bigger than a shoebox, you kind of have to handle those outside.
Yep.
Hey, Richie, I'm going to ask you something. We just hit the 30 something minute mark, and I promised our listeners that we were going to keep these episodes to 30 minutes. Can I get a commitment from you to finish this off another day? Can we do a two-parter? Would you be willing to do that?
Paul, I am at your disposal anytime you need me, pal.
Okay, first day of hunting season.
Yeah, I know, really.
I'll take that away from your brother.
It's bow season as we speak, buddy.
I know. And that's Richie and I are big outdoorsmen, so we talk to each other. Not always work related, but it's great to have my Beantown brother only about an hour south of me.
Yeah.
So, anyways, Richie, I want to tell you a story. Before we get off, I want to tell you a story. I don't know if you heard my episode on 8 arbitration where Corey was kind of handing this over to me, but uh, I got some negative feedback from that episode.
Really?
Somebody who works in a regional office unfriended me and said that I was making a political post because I was going to talk about education. Can you believe that? Education is now a political post. Did,
Listen, all of us are obligated to training our members. Okay. So whether you love someone or hate somebody, put all the nonsense aside. This is about the membership. Train everybody you can. You know,
Yeah, 100%. I mean, there's a lot of candidates out there that are running for positions. I mean, even Renfro is putting some training out online. I think it's pretty much to put his face on the face of the training, but I'm not going to knock anyone getting trained. I appreciate
absolutely.
that. Links to
It's
inspection training, links to podcasts. I mean, as good or bad as they may be, some of them are are a little iffy, but I appreciate all the training out there. And
Listen,
I
guys like you and I, we've been around for a long time. We have an obligation to share it with the younger kids.
yeah,
I will say, when I was the DLT for Thierry, I had the honor of working with a bunch of young kids, and they were great kids. And I got to tell you, it was the best part of my job, training those young kids, and they're going to have bright futures. They're great kids. And Branch 34, we have a bunch of young kids coming up right now. And if there's anything I can do to train these guys as far as contractual or route inspection stuff, or just how to do business as a union representative, how to show yourself, how to appear, I enjoy doing that part of the job.
well, Richie, I'm going to pull out my crystal ball, and I have a feeling that your future years with the NALC are not just going to be relegated to training people in Branch 34, because I think you're too valuable an asset to keep in one state, brother. So I would set my sights high, because I mean, just from what people have heard today, I mean, obviously you know your stuff, and we really need people with your skills out in the field. So we're going to work on getting more people out there to train like you for sure, buddy.
Yeah, don't skimp on training. It's out there for everybody, and a lot of guys have, we share numbers through rap sessions and things like that. I talk to Chris Gannett all the time up there in 230. My buddy Ross Murray, he transferred down to Virginia, and these are guys that we need to banter with every day. Every day that you help somebody do something, they're helping you do something. So
Yes.
sharing
And
information is key.
there's not one of us. I always tell people I'm the 40-watt light bulb in the room, but talking to people like you and I talking, we have people on. You learn stuff from everybody. I learn stuff from some of my newest carriers will come up and ask me a
Yes.
question, and I didn't see it that way. That's a
Yeah.
great point. You know?
Get better every day. Each
Yep.
and every one of us, our conversation today, I'm going to carry something away from it today, Paul. So
Yeah.
get better every day. Make that your
Yep.
goal. Get better every day.
All right, that's a great place to leave it, Richie. Hey, I want to thank you for joining me on the Lions Den, and I'm going to see you again in a week or two, and we're going to finish this off. But Richie Galvin for Branch 34, our superstar route inspector guest, is going to be back one more time, guys. So I want to thank you all for joining us, and we will talk to you next week or the week after, but we will see you soon. Keep educating. We'll see you.